Well, I'm Rob Stefano from Radmer Manufacturing. I'm your guys' rep. Normally when I come up to the facility, I visit with Scott, Peter, Brandon, everybody out in the shop. What we're going to do today is talk about gas supply mode change. You guys are the gas experts, but we field a lot of questions at Raterman. You know, what is cylinders? When do we move up to the next size cylinders? What's microbulk? And we have enough information to provide the customer enough information to send them back to you guys. So we want to share a little information over the next 30 minutes. Some of the questions that we find very valuable that when you're trying to either prospect or upsize or change your customer, some really good tools that you can find yourself and benefit. So Marie, if you could start our slide, that would be great. We have a PowerPoint you guys can kind of follow through. Once again, it's mode supply change. Raterman Manufacturing, we have our corporate office is based out of Livermore, California. All your supplies come out of Nashville, Tennessee. And we just recently opened up a new one down in Texas. So we have 3 facilities now that we stock product, but majority, if not all your stuff will come out of Nashville. Next slide, please. So as me and Scott were talking, and if you guys don't know, you will know, all our product, most of your products come from an ASU, an air separation plant. It's kind of like sifting gold back in the day or sifting sand when you're a kid at the beach. It kind of funnels through. And some of the products that we get is you'll see nitrogen is the number one. It's about 78%, followed by oxygen. Argon's low, as well as other gases. And those other gases could be krypton, xenon. Some of those gases were used for making windows back in the day with Pella Window over in Pella, Iowa. But the price was expensive. And you can see if argon, as much as we suck out of the air, you don't get much argon. And that's why argon is so expensive. And we see them run into shortages month to month, every couple months. So that's basically where most of our product comes from, except for acetylene and our fuel gases. Next slide, please. So some of the key factors for mode supply change is understanding monthly consumption. If the customer has any purity standards, are you guys set up to fill purities, or do you have to get them from another source? So kind of have an idea if there's a purity requirement and where you're going to source that from, whether it be in-house or outside. The other thing is shop conditions. If it's your customer already and you're just going to upsize maybe from cylinders to microbulk or small bulk, you have a pretty good idea how the lines are, how the equipment is, how well it's maintained. And if it's not maintained, maybe you can make some suggestions for improvements. One thing that's really cool is when you're out on a piece of property visiting a customer or prospect, you want to get to know everybody, the owners, the CEOs, everybody. So when they see you on their property, they know that you're an asset. The owners, the CEO could say, hey, you know what? I know he's from Raterman Manufacturing. He's here to provide me a service. He's not a threat. He's working with my team, and it's going to be very profitable for me at the end. So kind of back to the monthly consumption, your customer, whether it be a current one or one you're trying to prospect, has an idea of the usage profile. If it's a laser, they can tell you if they've been going through so many liquids or 12 packs or how much product per month, because they've had some type of trial and error and some type of record keeping, because somebody has to keep ordering product. The rule of thumb back in the day is it was about $200 to make a delivery. And that $200 was the truck, insurance, driver, all kinds of things nestled in. So I think the big guys back in the day said, you know, for us to get the most out of our money, let's try to make one delivery every 3 or 4 weeks. Sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't. It also depends on your mode of supply. Sometimes you can't deliver cylinders once every 3 or 4 weeks. It's just not enough. But that was just a rule of thumb. But you guys work around what's best for Mississippi welders, of course. You guys have all the branches, and you can decide, you know, what is the best mode. Next slide, please. Some of this, when it comes to the cylinders and different things, you can start out with a basic 1 cylinder, and we're going to get a little bit farther in the next slide or two about that. But we based it on 330 cubic feet. Then you go to cradles. You can get 6 packs or 12 packs. You guys have 16s. There's even some high pressure ones I just quoted for Peter. But the cubic footage will change. And then you get the liquid containers. Basically, you can get them either on wheels or without. We call them liquids now, or 180 liters. Back in the day, they were GP 45s or 51, which stood for 5,100 cubic feet or 4,500 cubic feet. Now everything's, you know, by liters. We have the small microbulk. It's 450 liters. The DOT approved container. That's the largest you can fill at the plant and drive and haul down the road. From that point, you go to a small micro bulk, small bulk, which is stationary. You guys fill it off your trucks, and you cannot run and transport it back and forth to the plant. Next slide, please. So back to critical conditions when in proper supply mode, again, questions are very unique. You have to ask the customer a lot of things if you don't know these, especially if it's prospecting. If it's a customer you already have, you have an idea what they're using, and if they're going to be increasing their shop, what the new piece of equipment is going to require. So the questions you want to ask is, what is the application? And you guys get involved in everything. It could be food packaging, it could be laser applications, it could be just fab shops. So you need to know what it is you're going up against. Lasers, equipment, cutting machines, things of that nature. And when it comes to the product, is it they want gas use or liquid requirements? Some sources will use both, but when it comes to your supply, you cannot always have one source supply both. And we'll get to that shortly. Along with understanding if it's a gas use or liquid use, is there any purity requirements? If it's going to be a food grade or medical, they might want UHP, they might want bone grade. So understanding if there's any purity requirements for the gas is important. And then they also ask if they need a C of A, certificate of appliance. That way you can provide that with the gas when you make deliveries or prior to it, so they can have on file. Questions you want to ask is like, standard cubic feet per hour consumed. If it's a cutting table or a laser or whatever, they should have an idea what the equipment requires. The manufacturer probably, when they sold to them, told them it's going to use X amount of gas per hour, per minute, per day, per shift. So they should have some type of thing to help guide you in the right direction. You want to ask them how many peaks. Are they seeing a lot more at the beginning of the year, the summertime, the fall, spring? There are certain times of the week they have peaks. And when it peaks, it's like how many? Is it just for a short period of time, like an hour, or is it longer than that? You try to ask per minute. It's easier for you to break things down when you ask per minute, and then shifts per day. Some factories were running 3 days, 3 shifts a day, 7 days a week. Some might be just running 16 hours. So understanding how long somebody's actually going to be there using the product, running the equipment is important. So you can kind of do some mathematical yourself and keep track of that. The delivery access, that's more like is how many points do you have? If it's a big facility, are you setting multiple stations to like maybe micro bulk in 3 different locations, or you have cylinders spread out the building? Because you want to make that feasible. And you might say, maybe cylinders is not the best way to supply you with all this. Maybe we put a stationary unit like a bulk, and we use branches. We can go off and supply everything off that instead of using cylinders. And you can do the pros and cons. You guys are very good about return on investment. I know you like facility fees, monthly rentals, but again, it's what's best fits your guys' business model. And then the use points kind of ties into the delivery access. You want to know where the product's being used. For example, if it's a burning table, how many torches are being used at a time? Is it just 2 torches? Is it 4? Is it actually oxygen, acetylene, and fuel gas, or is it a laser? So different ones use different gases and different volumes. So trying to understand the consumption, what they're using it, and all their points is very important for you guys to come up with a monthly consumption. Next slide, please. We kind of joke and everybody laughs when we tell them there's 13 cylinders in a liquid can, So we did this little graphic, which was kind of neat. We should actually show 13 cylinders that will actually fit into a liquid can. It's not 100% accurate, but it's average 13 based on a 330 cubic foot cylinder. As you know, cylinders, it takes a lot of time and money and effort to swap out cylinders. They did a time study that it shows that an average person, when they go to swap out a cylinder, it takes about 30 minutes. And the reason they come up with that is, he's got to stop and talk to Johnny, have a smoke break, go get the cylinder. On the way back, he runs into Pete, stops, has another smoke break. So next thing you know, 30 minutes goes by and you lost production just to swap out one cylinder. Plus, there's a safety factor. Most people, as we know, don't use carts. They roll them. And so try to prevent any injuries. When you go to like a small micro bulk, we did 3,000 liter, 242 cylinders. That's a lot of cylinders that you're swapping out, either weekly, monthly, depending upon the volume. It's great for rent if you're getting daily rent on cylinders, but you can also get facility fees when you go to the bigger vessels like the micro bulk. And then for fun, we did the 1,500 gallon, which is the most common right now in the industry. That's basically what we call small bulk. You see a lot in oxygen, argon, some nitrogen, but there's 484 cylinders in there to make up that product. So that's a lot of cylinders. And you figure when you guys have cylinders at your plant, you probably have it's 3 to 1. You got one at a customer and you got 2 back at the plant, either being filled or being retested or on a truck going someplace else. So a lot of assets when it comes to cylinders. But I just wanted you guys to kind of see, or ladies even, how many cylinders it takes to make 1,500 gallons, 13 cylinders makes a liquid can. Next slide, please. We're talking about sources. We basically start out with a cylinder, of course, of oxygen or argon, whatever it might be. And so the customer's like going, yep, this is great. You know, I can, it's just gas only. I can't get liquid. I get 2,000 PSI, 250 cubic feet. Things are great. We kind of determined that when you get around 5,000 of cylinder use, that means when you're using 5,000 cubic foot of just cylinder gas product, you're a great candidate to be moved over to a cradle or to portable liquids. And the reason we say that is because now you're getting into volume and you're getting the pressure, and the volume is actually what you're looking for. So the great thing when you go to this 12 packs or cradles is it's gas only. It's high pressure and it's gas only. You get the 2,000 PSI, 4,500 cubic feet, because now you're clustering cylinders together. When you go to the liquid side, liquid is low pressure. You're only going to get 500 PSI. However, you can get liquid and gas. So you can kind of do 2 different things with it, but depending upon the pressure rating that your customer requires. Rule of thumb is when you get around 30,000 cubic feet used between either the cradles or the liquid cans, that 30,000 cubic feet per month is like a good candidate to move up to a small bulk or a micro bulk unit. Once again, though, when you get to those things, it's going to be 500 PSI. You can use liquid or gas, but again, you're not going to get the pressure you want, but you're going to get volume. And you can tie off a lot of different things and get the flow because they'll have vaporizers. So you can feed multiple sources off this or feed multiple machines. The rule of thumb that we had was when you, in the micro bulk, small bulk, when you hit 75,000 cubic feet, it's a great opportunity for you to move the customer up to a big bulk, up to even tube trailers. There again, you're kind of limited a little bit. You get lower pressure, you got liquid or gas use, and it kind of depends what your customer's needs are. But these are your basic types of mode of supply. Most people, when we start out in the day with cylinders, you work our way up, but we're trying to figure out what's best for Mississippi welders, be more beneficial for the day, beneficial for your customer, and all about profit. Next slide, please. So that was kind of it in a nutshell. And we could drive into this so far deep and spend probably a couple hours on different things here, but if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. But just basically, it's asking a lot of questions. We also found out that was really neat is that when you're doing something, if you take detailed notes, take some pictures, so in a year from now, if you need to go back in for a price increase or resign a contract, you have documentation of improvements that you made to that customer on all your visits. Well, you upsize them, you help save some money, you help increase production. So taking notes, pictures is great, especially when you're going back to re-sign paperwork.